Yo, what is good, people of Earth? So today I wanted to talk about communism. So in the past, I've talked about communism, and I've actually made the correlation where communism, if you think about what communism is from the perspective of like your home, right? Like if you grow up, when you're a child, you live in a house, you live in a home or whatever, you live with a family, and in that family, the hierarchy is, you have the parents who are in charge. They're like the dictators or the president, however they act, right? And then the children are like the subjects. They can say their vote, like, mommy, I don't want that, or, oh, I really want that, but at the end of the day, it's still the mom or the dad or the mom and dad or whoever's in charge of that household is going to be the one ultimately making those decisions. Now, the thing about why this makes sense as far as communism, think about it from the perspective of like, what is communism? Well, let's go with the most normalized term here, which is socialism. Okay, so again, I've said this a million times at this point, but Karl Marx, the whatchamacallit guy of communism, right, had said that socialism is a means to communism, which is the only way to transfer capitalism, a society that's capitalist, over to communist. You need that bridge in the middle, and socialism is that bridge. Now, why is socialism that bridge? It's because everything's socialized. So all your efforts as a person go into a pool, and then that pool covers everyone. Well, that's the gist of it, in theory. And at very minimum levels, in tightly regulated societies, this could work to some degree. Socialized health, socialized medicines, things like, social structures, socialized structures can definitely help. And it's good for society to where we can help people that aren't able to really help themselves. That's the gist. That's the utopian perspective, right? But what really ends up happening is it's only there for a short time, because look, eventually there's not enough going into the system, where there's more people that were maybe not needy in the past, but all of a sudden become needy because the second handouts start happening, the second things like this start to be the main thing that's happening. What you see is that instead of people actually contributing, and there's various reasons why you would not want to contribute. Like personally, if I worked 80 hours a week and all of my money was taken and put into a socialized pool, I would be pretty disappointed and pretty much not wanting to do those 80 hours a week. So I'd be figuring out ways to just get down to 40 hours. And then I'd be figuring out ways to get down to as little as possible, because all my efforts are not helping me in any significant way. They're just going to the party, right? And then the party is spreading it around. And if I get any, who cares? Because the only thing that matters in that system is what's coming in, right? But after a while, and this is why this is the way it works, and this is why Karl Marx was, this is what his intelligence of this, or the concept or whatever, or whether he laid the track, whatever. The point is this, that eventually the money runs out for socialism. The resources run dry. And then what ends up happening is you have a crisis. You have a super crisis where people aren't eating, people aren't being sheltered, people aren't having their basic needs met, right? And so what happens then? Then the communism turns over, which means the government now has to do all of this on their own. Now, this is not possible. This is not sustainable. This is not something that you could ever consider being a good thing, because government really doesn't care. They don't look at you as a person. They look at you as a number, and how many numbers we have. How much does that contribute? Yada, yada. Okay. So at the end of the day, I mean, if you want to look at socialized medicines from, like, for instance, let's say Canada, right? Canada, our northern cousin, right? They have socialized medicine. And so if you have, any problems, health related, you just get on the list and get your free treatment, right? Because it's part of the government, right? But here's the thing. How long are you going to be on that list, right? You break your foot. Well, you're probably going to lose the foot because they're not going to get to you fast, right? Like, and I'm being hyperbolic here on purpose, guys. I'm not saying that that's what's going to end up happening, but I'm not saying that doesn't happen either. I'm saying that there's a backlog of people, because everybody is entitled to this system, right? So everybody's cashing in on it, all at whatever time they want. And that's the issue that socialism brings. And that's the issue that further is complicated by communism, because eventually communism has to take over, because the socialism is this altruistic perspective. Like, yeah, I'm working a couple extra hours, but my efforts are actually going into this great pool that's helping all the little guys, the people that can't really help themselves, the people that are, meek and of needs and things like this, the elderly, the children. I feel like, if I'm putting in an extra effort and it's going towards that, then I can sleep good knowing that I helped out, in my part, right? But that is not what's happened. That's not what ever happens. Think about the Pareto effect, right? Where 20% of the populace does like 80% of the work. So that's where we're at. But it's anyway. So not to get too lost here, guys. This whole concept of communism, and what I'm ultimately trying to say here is this: when you are a child, you live in you can call it a socialist or communist, whatever you want to call it. It's both of those. Those elements are part and parcel of it, because as a child, you can't work. As a child, you don't know how to do the things that you need to take care of yourself. You're not smart, you're not educated, you're just learning about yourself. You're just learning about the world and interacting in that way. So you have no idea, you have no responsibility, you have no justification for any of your actions. And that's fine. That's what being a child is all about. But you need adults, you need sponsors, you need people who can take care of you in the interim while you're learning about how to take care of yourself. So in that aspect, you are completely, as a child, you are completely beholden to your parents or whoever's in charge of that household. And their rule matters most, right? The parent has the ability to give you all the things that you want, and they can also take them all away from you. They can punish you to whatever degree that they feel fit. They can slap you around, and it's not right. But what I'm saying is that parents ultimately have they have the somewhat of authority to administer their brand of, let's say it's a communist brand, or let's say it's a more hippie brand. Either one, there's going to be detriments to both. I mean, if you're a hippie and you just let your kid just do whatever, then they're going to grow up to be the biggest piece of shit you'll ever fucking know. The flip side is that if you're on top of your kid all the time and you beat the shit out of them all the time, whether that's physical or like just more of a mental kind of like beat down all the time, where you're just like constantly critical with your kids, constantly giving them negative emotions as a result of whatever their actions are, you're going to ruin them in that way too. So they're never going to trust people. They're never going to like people. They're going to be whatever. They're going to they're going to lash out in certain ways. This happens in both directions, guys. So whether you're too hands-on with your kids or not hands-on enough, there's like a sweet spot in between, and everybody should know that. It's called moderation. That's why, you shouldn't call yourself the left or the right. You should be in the middle. You should be in the middle, moderation wise. If you're too far to the left, you're crazy. If you're too far to the right, you're crazy. And that's all there is, guys. And that's where we're living right now. We're living in a hyperbolic, super line down the middle, hyper partisan or whatever, where either you believe that the president's supposed to be the president or you believe it was illegitimate. And I'd say like we're split down the middle in this country right now. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about per se, although it's related. what I'm talking about, guys, is I'm making this correlation of communism. And what is communism at the end of the day, right? If you're a child, you live in a communist regime. That's just the way it is. Now, maybe your parents are benevolent. Maybe those parents are very sweet and nurturing and loving. Or maybe they're not. Maybe they're the opposite of that. Or maybe they're in the middle. Either way you look at it, you're in a socialist environment. And remember, socialism is just a means to communism, right? So in this aspect, all we're saying here is that you're either, you could call it socialism, you can call it communism, you can call it authoritarianism, you can call it fuzzy unicorn world, you can call it anything you want. But guys, at the end of the day, what we're talking about right now and how I'm breaking this down for you is this concept of authoritarian, like highly authoritarianism, or high levels of authority, right? Where it is what it is, and you have to conform to it. The more strict something is, the more you have to conform to it. And the more you conform to something, the less of you remains. The more you remove yourself from yourself, so to speak, right? So if you live in that, if you're a child living in that super hard life, communist parenting, where your parents are just super strict, and they will slap you or whatever it is. They will berate you. They will take away all of the things that you are comforting. Like, they'll take away all your comfort zones. They'll take away all the things, and to show you, out of their own spite, out of their own might, out of their own ability to control you, it's to me, it's sickening. To me, it's the overuse of force. It's destroying the innocence of a child. But what we do as a culture, what is starting to happen more and more as a culture, is we are getting more and more authoritarian, right? And what I had said in the past was, I believe that what is attractive about communism is those safety things where my mom, my dad, whoever those authorities were growing up, that was comforting to a certain degree. And that, I think, invites people to acknowledge that maybe socialism is a good thing. Maybe communism isn't that bad. Because basically, we've grew up in a communist regime. Mom and dad, those were the grand masters. They were the chairman or whatever. They're the chairman or presidents or the dictators or whatever semantic issue or semantics you want to use. That's what it is. So I make this correlation where we have people that are saying, you know what, maybe communism isn't that bad. Maybe socialism is good, because I grew up in these terms. I grew up not having a job and still getting fed, and not being able to do work and having that work done for me, and it's very easy to just say, look, we already did that as a kid. Why can't we just do that as an adult? But the thing is that remember back when you were a kid and that authority told you what to do. They told you when you need to go to sleep. They gave you what you had to eat. You have no ability to change that, right? If mom was making chicken cutlets that night, that's what you were eating. If it came with Brussels sprouts, that's what you were eating, okay? Nowadays, it's like, oh, Billy, what do you want? Oh, you don't want to have the things that we're making? Okay, I'll just get you I'll get you like a side burger from McDonald's on the way home from the store or something, or I'll get you some treats or something, or maybe there's some ramens in the ramens are great, by the way. They're a great staple, but you get what I'm saying. Anyway, so this whole concept of communism being approachable comes from the fact that we grew up in our own little mini communist environments, our own little mini socialist utopias, or what have you, or however you want to call it that. So what I see now is that, look, we have a lot of people in our culture and our country that are pushing towards more authoritarianism, right? When they tried really, really hard these past couple of years with this coof thing, with this pandemic bullshit, where they pushed and like try to block us off to see how much power they have over us. And it turns out that they had a lot of power. Look at what's happening in China, for instance. The CCP, the benevolent force of the CCP, they're horrible. I can't even be facetious with this. It's just straight up. They're the worst. They're one of the worst in history at this point. In recent years, the Communist Party of China, it's all authoritarian. They have TVs. They have video cameras everywhere, so they can watch you. And this is how they implement their control. It's because they can see you, they can track you, and they can control you. They know everything you do. They know what your money's being spent on. They know where you are at all times. And if you're not being pinged on your phone or whatever with your tracking devices that they always have with you, because everybody has a tracking device built on them. I have two, apparently. I have an Apple Watch and an Apple phone. So those are two areas or two tracking devices that are with me persistently. So everywhere I go, these two tracking devices are with me, verifying my where I'm at, and it's cross-verifying. So now I'm double checked. So this is great if I get lost or if somebody needs to find me, but it's also not great if if I'm trying to get lost and somebody needs to find me that I don't want to find. You can see how the spin is. So sure, it could be great, but it could also be the worst thing in the world, where this is how they're implementing their control system in China. For instance, they have a social credit score. So look, how's that work, right? Oh, okay, well, I get to establish a social credit, right? So if I do anything like wrong or whatever, or I don't pay something, then I get negative marks on my social credit. And if I get enough negative marks on my social credit, then I can go to jail, or I could be completely blocked off from anything that's important. Like, I won't be able to buy stuff. Oh, your social credit's too low for you to be able to buy food here. So you have to go to somewhere else away from here. And the whole concept is to stifle you from being against whatever the socially accepted procedures are. But the thing is that in China, it's not about what's socially good. It's about what China expects you to do. It has nothing to do with you. And that's the difference with American ideals and Chinese ideals. Because the Chinese concept is that, look, there's no such thing as God. There's no such thing as religion. The state is your God. The state is your religion, and you will follow, and you will be part of that. And if you don't, well, you won't be able to eat. You won't have a shelter. You won't have clothes for you to keep you warm in these cold winters. You won't have any of the necessities. You want to get a doctor's appointment? Nope, not going to happen. No doctor will see you. No attorney will work for you. And no service will accept you. So there's no way to get those things. You become a non-person or a black person in China. And I'm not talking about the color black. I'm not talking about African Americans or African people like that. I'm talking about the word black, as in like they're not listed on in China. Like they're not recognized by the government, so they don't have any standings. They're non-people basically. Since they're not registered in the system and they can't be tracked 100%, they become non-people. But there's a lot of non-people in China. So how's that work? It's not working good, but it's their system, for better or worse, right? But these are the things that are coming our way, guys. America, you need to understand. If you like scary movies, watch a documentary on China, an unbridled, uncensored documentary on China. You'll be scared more than any Salem ghost story show with a popular American actor who looks good even when his hair is ruffled. That's not the reality, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're watching, like, you see the stuff on TV right now. Everything's about Twitter, right? Like, Elon Musk, such a bad guy, right? And nobody's talking about, like, what China's doing. Nobody's talking about the fact that they have a zero COVID policy, which means that they literally are locking Foxconn employees who are making these cell phones, by the way, and all these devices for us in China. They're locking them in so they can't leave the facilities, so that they can guarantee that it's a zero COVID So these workers are literally sleeping on the factory floors. How are they able to get away with that? There's no OSHA in China. It's communists. The only reason we have organizations in America is because we're trying to show we're trying to stand for the people. However, those organizations have been co-opted by the bad people anyway. Like, look at the FBI. Look at the war on drugs created more drugs. The war on sex trafficking, illegal trafficking only creates more of it, because those people that are supposed to be watching the doors are opening the doors for their people, the people that are paying the money, because they're the ones blocking the doors, like security guard, right? You go to a club and the security guy is like, nah, you can't get in. Throw him a 20, throw him a hundo. Oh, we got space all of a sudden. We got room to get you in. Money talks, right? And status, all that shit. But when everybody's socialist and communist and nobody has money, then nobody has power. Nobody has any leverage over anybody else. And that's what they want. This is who's they? Who's they? I don't know. I couldn't give you a whole list of people's names. I could tell you who they aren't. I could tell you the people who aren't they in this conversation. Like people like me, people like you, people like, people that are looking at CNN and saying, oh, I don't know, is this real? This is concerning, like I don't know what's going on in the world, but, I'll just turn on Netflix instead. And Netflix is turning into a shit show because all this woke garbage, because everything's been politicized now. They know that if, politics is downstream of culture, then they have to fuck with culture so that they can get politics, right? And that's exactly how it works, guys. So you see all these fucking actors who have no political prowess at all. They don't even fucking understand, basic economy, right? And they're out there saying, oh no, I think socialism is great, or oh, we gotta really, we gotta watch out for climate change, right? What's climate change? Again, guys, more bullshit. Climate change happens daily. It's never gonna be. It's not gonna change to the degree that they're telling you. Because back in the 70s, we were supposed to have an ice age. Now, 30 years, 40 years ahead, now we're looking at global warming. Like everything's gonna melt, right? So what happened? What happened in 40 years that changed everything? Because in 40 years ago, they were saying like 15 years from now, we're all gonna be frozen, right? And then 2 years ago, with they're saying, oh, in 12 years, we're all gonna be dead. So we need to get this carbon tax going, right? We need to carbon tax these people. Who's getting carbon tax, by the way? The CCP's not getting carbon taxed at all. It's only going to be the small, little, tiny countries that can't fight back against the oppressiveness of these bigger countries like America and the UN fucking related stuff and NATO and stuff like this. These little countries cannot form a response. So they're going to naturally be sanctioned. They're going to naturally be stuck and have to pay absorbent amounts of fucking billions of dollars in fines when their GDP is probably not even close to that. It's disgusting, guys. And if you guys can't see this stuff, well, why would you see this? Netflix is so much more entertaining than a guy like me who's in his car just fucking talking about this shit. And nobody fucking cares about me. I don't care. That's fine. I'm not important. But what I'm saying is things that I think are slightly important that people should be thinking about, collectively. You hear this common sense. It's not common sense anymore, guys. It's just common nonsense. We've gone FOMO mode, full FOMO, like fear of missing out. Oh yeah, these people are all lining up to get some sort of toxin that's going to possibly fucking give them heart attacks and not really do anything that it was supposed to do. But we're lining up for this shit, guys. We're lining up to wear diapers on our face, and we're calling out people that don't, who have actually natural health, like me. I'm healthy. I'm not going to be not healthy because I take good measures in my lifestyle. I mean, look at me. I almost have, well, you could see a six-pack on some days, but I'm in pretty good shape. I'm 43. People look at me. They think I'm in my late 20s, early 30s. I get carded all the time. And it's not because I'm out here drinking, a shit ton of soda. Oh, there's some coffee here. It's black, by the way. I take care of my life. I take care of myself. But part of taking care of myself, guys, is understanding how to do that. And in order to do that, I have to use this thing right here, which is what I'm complaining about right now, is that I don't think enough people are doing this. They're not using this. They're just going with the wind and following whoever's in front of them saying this bullshit. Like, this is what you need to do, guys, or this is what's everybody's saying. Oh, okay, well, my friend on Facebook said that this is the best way to do it. So I guess everybody on Facebook, that one person becomes everybody, by the way. Everybody on Facebook is saying this is the way it's supposed to be. So I guess this is what, like, so I'm fine with that. Cool. Oh, it doesn't matter then. Now I'm paying like $2, $3 more for gas for every gallon, right? Oh, because, I don't want that guy who was really mean sounding or whatever. Or he had bad tweeting or whatever. He's just like, he had tiny hands and talked like, a New Yorker, like, this is what we get. We get people who just like fall in line, bro. And this is the thing, like, we're falling in line too much. And I say break out. My philosophy is the breakout philosophy, which I've been working on for a long time, because it's important. But anyway, back to what I'm saying. Look, communism at this point it's all about authoritarianism. It's all about being authority. It's all about having control over everything else. Like, think about what is Xi Jinping, what is he capable of? He's a fat, shitty, old, nothing burger. He doesn't have a fucking ounce of muscle on him, right? He has nothing. He's ugly. He looks like Winnie the Pooh when they make jokes about him. He's nothing. He's just an old guy, right? He can't do any of the things that he's commanding you to do. So why does he have the authority? Why do any of these people have authority? They don't have your best interest at all. People are dying from this zero COVID thing where they're locked in their apartments. Xi Jinping has said, no, zero COVID. Not one person in all of the billions of people in China is allowed to have COVID, because if they do, we're going to shut down whole sections of millions of people are going to be displaced by this. And that's the way they're doing it, right? So they're creating all these problems for themselves. Like, think about what else they've done in the past. They had the one-child policy in China, right? Because this is what their solution was, right? And what did people do? They killed all the girls. All the babies that are girls, they just killed them. They either killed them or got rid of them, or now they're black children where they have no identities by the states, where you have like a parent who's like, oh my God, I have a daughter and I need a son to carry on my family's name, but I have a daughter and I'm only allowed to have one child. So what do? Do I kill this baby? No. So what do I do? Take them underground, basically. Hide them hide them. But what's going to happen when they get older and they need health needs and stuff like this? They're not going to be allowed to go to a doctor. They're not going to be allowed to have a job. They're not going to be part of the system in any significant way. Actually, they're going to be part of the non-system, which means they have nothing, which is horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And this isn't just in China, by the way. This kind of thing happens in other communist authoritarianism, rules. So what I'm getting at, guys, and what I started this whole conversation was, I want to make the correlation between where we are and what communism really is. Okay, so currently we're capitalist, right? And capitalism means that you can earn a living, and the more you apply yourself, the more money you can make, the more means you can create for yourself and your family, which is great. This is why you have guys who are out there making $200,000 a year. They're working their ass off to the bone, but they're still accomplishing something, and they're able to pay lots of money into their family. They're able to bring a lot of resources into their lifestyle, which is one way to do it, right? But in a communist culture, the government is in charge of all of that. So anything, you don't make money. Like, you're just given food. You're given allowance. You're given things, you're given enough to have the basic necessities, or they'll just give you the necessities and not even give you the money so you can pay for it, because there's no need for that. The currency is meant for when you have a capitalist society. That's how you get things done, right? Like, if I need something, I have to buy it. If I want something done, I have to pay for it, right? Those are the things that you have that you get with money. But you have to earn that money somehow. All that system is completely broken in communism. In authoritarian communism, it doesn't matter what you earn, because there's no value. You have no value. You're zero value except for the numbers that you can bring to that table, which are very little. And the government doesn't even see you as barely as that. They're giving you that little bit of benefit for the fact of that they need to have a lot of people feeding into the system. But when you need something, it doesn't work that way. It only works one way. With capitalism, it works both ways. You know, if you need something and you can't get it, there's ways to get the system to line up to where it works for you. There's movement there, but there's negotiations, and it takes a lot longer. But in communism, you don't have to worry about that stuff. When you're the leader in a communist country, you don't have to worry about the media saying anything was bad about you, or getting unelected, or getting canceled, or anything like that. You literally just shut that down. That's what they do in China. It's like, oh, look, people are talking bad about us online. Well, shut down the whole fucking internet. That's what they do. They just shut off the turn things off. Oh, these guys are manipulating, or they're getting a little extra here. Shut off the switch. That's how it works. So we need to be a little bit more aware of that, guys. I think people in general just need to be a little bit more using this and stop just following. Okay, so that being said, guys, I just want to end on this, right?
Here's what I found.
Really? Most annoying thing ever. Does this all the time. I wish these devices weren't listening, and I wish we can get away from them. But in order for us to look like normal people, we have to kind of play like the normal game, right? I'm not saying that I'm doing anything or not doing anything. I'm just throwing it out there. But what I am getting at, guys, is this. If you think about communism, the reason why people are attracted to communism is because it reminds them of being a child. It reminds them of everything is free and you don't have any responsibility mentality. And that's what people want. It's what people crave. It's a comfort zone. And so that's what allows people to think that these things will work for them in the future. But it's literally, you're just drinking the Kool-Aid, guys. You're thinking with the wrong mentality. Because if you want something, the great thing about capitalism is that if you really need something, you can go out and get it. You can go out, figure out how to earn it, and get it, right? In communism, there's just nothing. There's nothing you do. Like, these people are stuck. Zero COVID. They've welded some of these doors shut for people to get out of their apartments. They can't even get out of their apartments. So what happens? There's a fire in one of these apartments, and people died because they couldn't get out of their fucking prison apartment. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is over there, guys. And this is the stuff that they're trying to usher in here. You think Joe Biden likes people calling him like a retarded idiot or whatever, like Sleepy Joe Biden? No. If we go communism like they're trying to push, then if you say those things, you'll get arrested. You'll get thrown in jail. You'll get, you'll be the next victim you'll just disappear. That's how it works. That's what happens in China. If you say this in China, right? You escape from communism, you got away. But guess who didn't get away? The rest of your family is still there. You think that your family is not going to get harassed or worse because of you? Because of you and your desires of living like a free person and not living as a cattled animal? How dare you? How dare you try to fucking be free? Well, there's all this world out there. And we need to have people putting their thumbs on us and telling us how to live and how to be. And no trust. There's no, the civilians aren't trusted. The communist parties don't trust the civilians. The reason why they are in place is because the civilians have said, look, we don't trust ourselves. We need people in charge of us. And that's where it begins, guys. That's where it starts. But it's definitely not where it ends. But on that, guys, this is where I end this conversation. It's way longer than I thought it would be. Anyway, but that's how we do. We digress and we go through the issues. And hopefully some of the stuff here goes into your brain. If you're even listening. If you're still paying attention. If not, whatever. I know Netflix has got more interesting stuff than me. Better looking actors and, more fun content. Right? But I'm just telling you this, guys. In a few years, there probably won't be a Netflix. And if communism takes over, I mean, and even if there is a Netflix, it's not going to be one that you want to watch. I stopped watching Netflix almost 2 years ago now because it's just that bad. And now you see things like, you see TV shows like getting woke, like She-Hulk and The Witcher's now going from being a decently cool show to now just being completely woke. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I think everybody knows it. And I think we're getting sick of it. But I think people are just have enough to be where they're like, I don't really care that much, So it is what it is. But anyway, guys, y'all be good. Love your friends, love your family, be kind to your neighbors, and I'll talk to you again. Peace out, yo.